The alarm bells rang through the massive space station that floated in the dark void between stars. Nexus Prime was the biggest structure ever built by the Galactic Council, and today it housed the most important meeting in 1,000 years. 12 different alien species had sent their leaders here, and none of them looked happy. High Counselor Vexthara stood at the center of the Great Hall. Her reptilian body was covered in scales that changed color when she was angry, and right now they were flashing bright red. The other council members sat in a circle around her, each one stranger than the last. Some looked like giant insects. Others were made of pure energy held together by metal suits, and a few resembled nothing that had ever lived on any planet. "The humans have gone too far," Vexthara said, her voice echoing off the crystal walls. "We gave them permission to explore space 50 years ago. We thought they would be grateful. We thought they would follow our rules." A creature that looked like a walking tree raised one of its branch-like arms. "What exactly have they done now, Counselor?" Vexthara's scales turned darker. "They have built weapons, ships, technology that we did not give them permission to create. Our spies report that their military is far stronger than we expected." On the other side of the solar system, Captain Jake Morrison was having a quiet day. His ship, the UES Titan, was patrolling the empty space near Pluto. Jake was a simple man who had worked his way up from being a regular soldier to commanding one of Earth's finest vessels. He liked the peace of deep space, where he could think clearly and watch the stars. His peaceful morning ended when Lieutenant Amy Sullivan ran onto the bridge. Amy was young but smart, and Jake trusted her more than anyone else on his crew. She looked worried, which made Jake worry too. "Captain, we're getting a transmission," Amy said, holding a datapad in her shaking hands. "It's coming from outside our solar system. The signal is strong enough to reach every human ship and base." Jake took the pad and read the message. His face went pale. "Get me Admiral Collins right away. And Amy, keep this quiet for now." The message was short but clear. The Galactic Council was giving humanity 3 days to surrender all their weapons and ships. Any humans who refused would face something the message called corrective action. Jake had been in enough fights to know that was just a fancy way of saying they planned to kill anyone who said no. Deep underground in the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Pete Collins was already reading the same message. He sat in a command center that most people didn't know existed, surrounded by screens that showed every human ship and base in known space. Pete was an old soldier who had fought in 3 different wars before humans ever met aliens. He knew trouble when he saw it. President Lisa Chung arrived an hour later, her security team following close behind. Lisa was the first president to deal with alien contact, and she had spent years trying to keep the peace. Now it looked like peace was no longer an option. "How bad is it, Pete?" she asked, sitting down at the metal table. "Bad enough," Pete replied, pulling up charts on the main screen. "The Council has been watching us for years. They know about most of our ships and weapons. But there are things they don't know about," Lisa nodded. "Project Prometheus?" "Among other things," Pete said with a small smile. "We've been preparing for this day since the first alien ship showed up in our space. The Council thinks we're still using the same technology they saw 20 years ago. They're wrong." Meanwhile, Amy Sullivan was working hard to decode hidden parts of the Council's message. She was good with computers and had found extra data buried in the signal. What she discovered made her call Captain Morrison immediately. "Captain, you need to see this," she said when Jake came to her station. "There's secret information in their message. The Council is scared of us." Jake looked at the decoded text. It talked about human weapons that could punch through alien shields. It mentioned human ships that were faster than anything the Council had. Most importantly, it showed that several alien species wanted to attack Earth before humans got any stronger. "They're not trying to help us," Jake said quietly. "They're trying to stop us before we become a threat to them." Back on Earth, Dr. Nathan Brooks was putting the final touches on humanity's biggest secret. Nathan had spent years studying alien technology that had been captured or traded over the decades. He had taken their designs and made them better, combining alien science with human engineering in ways the Council never expected. The weapon he was finishing looked simple enough. It was a gun that fired energy instead of bullets, much like what the aliens used. But Nathan had improved the power source, made the targeting system smarter, and figured out how to make it work better than the original. He had built thousands of these weapons, and they were hidden on ships throughout the solar system. General Alex Turner stood in another secret base, this one built inside an asteroid between Mars and Jupiter. Around him, hundreds of human soldiers were preparing weapons and ships that the Council didn't know existed. Alex had been planning for this war for 15 years, ever since the first alien diplomat had looked at him like he was a pet that might bite. "Sir, we're getting reports from all our hidden bases," said Major Linda Price, Alex's second in command. "Everyone is ready," Alex nodded. "Good. The Council thinks they're dealing with a bunch of primitive humans with a few stolen alien toys. They're about to learn how wrong they are." Captain Morrison's ship was still near Pluto when the space around them suddenly filled with light. Dozens of alien ships appeared out of nowhere, their hulls glowing with energy shields and weapon ports. The Council fleet had arrived, and they had come to fight. Jake looked at the enemy ships on his screen and smiled. The aliens had made their first mistake by showing up early. They thought they were surprising a helpless human patrol ship. They had no idea that Jake's patrol ship was actually one of the most advanced warships humanity had ever built. "Amy, send a message to Admiral Collins," Jake said, settling into his captain's chair. "Tell him the Council just declared war on the wrong species. The peaceful morning was over. The war for humanity's freedom was about to begin, and the Galactic Council was about to discover that humans were much more dangerous than they had ever imagined." The Council fleet spread across space like a swarm of angry metal insects. 300 ships of different shapes and sizes took positions around the solar system, each one bristling with weapons that could destroy a city. Their hulls gleamed with energy shields that shimmered like soap bubbles, and their weapon ports glowed with deadly light. Fleet Commander Zelmuth floated in his command chamber aboard the largest Council ship. His body was made of gas and electricity, contained inside a crystal shell that let him think and speak. He had destroyed dozens of rebellious worlds over his long career, and he expected this fight to be easy. Humans were young and weak, and their technology was primitive compared to Council weapons. "Begin the final warning broadcast," Zelmuth ordered his communications officer, a spider-like creature with too many eyes. "Tell the humans they have 1 hour to surrender, or we will take their planet by force." Captain Jake Morrison watched the alien fleet deploy around his solar system and felt a mix of fear and excitement. The Council ships were impressive, but Jake knew something they didn't. Humanity had been preparing for this day for a very long time, and the aliens were about to get the surprise of their lives. "Amy, open a channel to Captain Rodriguez and Captain Parker," Jake said. "It's time to let them know what we're really dealing with." Captain Tony Rodriguez commanded the UES Liberty near Mars. His ship looked like a simple patrol vessel from the outside, but hidden beneath its hull were weapons and shields that would make a Council admiral jealous. Tony had been Jake's friend since they were both young soldiers, and he trusted Jake's judgment completely. "Jake, my sensors are showing enough firepower out there to glass our entire planet," Tony said when the connection opened. "Please tell me you have good news." "Better than good," Jake replied with a grin. "Remember what Admiral Collins told us about Project Prometheus? It's time to find out if all those years of preparation were worth it." Captain Helen Parker was positioned near Jupiter with the UE's Freedom. She was one of the best tactical minds in the human fleet, and she had spent months studying alien battle formations. Helen knew that the Council liked to fight in neat, organized groups, following rules and patterns that made sense to them, but could be exploited by someone thinking differently. "Both of you listen carefully," Helen said over the comm channel. "The aliens are deploying exactly like our intelligence said they would. They're putting their biggest ships in the center and their smaller ones on the edges. They think we're going to charge straight at them like idiots." Back on Earth, General Alex Turner stood in his hidden command center and smiled as reports came in from across the solar system. Every secret base was online and ready. Every hidden weapon platform was charged and targeting enemy ships. The Council thought they were looking at humanity's entire military force, but they were only seeing the tip of the iceberg. "Sir, all stealth systems are functioning perfectly," reported Major Linda Price. "The aliens have no idea we have weapons platforms throughout the asteroid belt. Their sensors are completely missing our hidden bases." Alex nodded and opened a channel to Admiral Collins. "Pete, the aliens just made their biggest mistake. They came here expecting to fight a handful of patrol ships. They have no idea what they're really up against." Dr. Nathan Brooks was aboard a secret research station hidden behind one of Saturn's moons. His improved energy weapons had been quietly installed on dozens of human ships over the past few months, and now it was time to see how well they worked against real alien shields. "All weapon systems are online and ready," Nathan reported to Admiral Collins. "The aliens are using the same shield technology they had 10 years ago. Our new energy weapons should cut through them like paper." Admiral Pete Collins sat in his underground command center and watched as the Council fleet moved into what they thought was an attack formation. The aliens were being careful and methodical, just like their intelligence reports had predicted. That was going to be their downfall. "All units, this is Admiral Collins," he said into his microphone. "Operation Surprise Party is now active. Show these aliens what humans can really do." The first sign that something was wrong came when Commander Zelmoth's sensors started picking up new energy signatures. Ships that had looked like simple patrol vessels were suddenly showing power readings that matched Council battleships. Weapons that should have been primitive were charging up with energy levels that made his tactical computer beep in alarm. "Commander, the human ships are not what they appeared to be," his tactical officer reported, his insect-like voice full of confusion. "They are showing military-grade power cores and advanced weapon systems." Zelmuth's crystalline shell flickered with angry energy. "Impossible. Our intelligence reports clearly showed that humans only have basic technology. There must be an error in our sensors." Captain Morrison decided it was time to show the Council what humans had really been building. "Amy, the Cloak are real weapon systems. Let them see what the U-East Titan can actually do." The space around Jake's ship suddenly filled with light as hidden weapon ports opened and advanced shield generators came online. The simple patrol vessel transformed before the aliens' eyes into a warship that could match any Council battleship. Similar transformations were happening throughout the solar system as human ships revealed their true capabilities. Captain Rodriguez engaged his ship's hidden engines and shot toward a group of Council fighters faster than they thought possible. The aliens scrambled to respond, but their rigid formations couldn't adapt quickly enough to match human speed and creativity. "This is liberty to all units," Tony called out as his ship's new weapons tore through alien shields like they weren't. Even there, the dock's energy guns worked perfectly. These aliens are in for a very bad day. Captain Parker coordinated the first real attack, leading a formation of human ships in a pattern that the Council had never seen before. Instead of charging straight ahead like the aliens expected, the human ships split apart and attacked from 6 different directions at once. their improved weapons finding weak spots in the alien formation. The first 12 council ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light, their crews never understanding what had hit them. The human ships danced around the remaining aliens, like fighters facing slow, clumsy opponents, striking hard and fast before disappearing back into the darkness of space. Fleet Commander Zelmoth stared at his tactical display in growing horror. In less than 10 minutes, he had lost more ships than in his last 5 battles combined. The humans weren't just fighting back. They were winning. And they were doing it with technology that shouldn't exist. All ships, full attack formation. Zelmoth ordered, his voice crackling with electrical anger. Show these primitives the true power of the Galactic Council. But as more council ships moved forward, more human vessels appeared from hidden positions throughout the solar system. What had looked like an easy conquest was turning into the fight of the Council's lives, and they were beginning to realize they might have made a terrible mistake. Admiral Pete Collins watched the battle reports flow across his screens and knew it was time to show the Council the full power of humanity. The aliens had committed their entire fleet to what they thought would be an easy victory. Now they were about to discover just how wrong they had been. Activate Protocol Omega, Pete said into his microphone. All hidden units, you are cleared to reveal yourselves. Show these aliens what we've really been building. Across the solar system, space itself seemed to come alive. Asteroids that had looked empty and dead suddenly opened like giant flowers, revealing massive weapon platforms hidden inside. The dark side of the moon split apart to show the largest military shipyard humanity had ever constructed, and dozens of brand-new warships launched into space. Captain Jake Morrison felt his heart race as he watched the transformation happen around him. Human technology that had been hidden for decades was finally being unleashed, and the sight was more impressive than he had ever imagined. Amy, are you seeing this? Jake asked his communications officer. Amy Sullivan stared at her screens in amazement. Captain, I'm counting over 200 hidden weapon platforms coming online. And those new ships launching from the moon base are bigger than anything we've ever built before. Fleet Commander Zelmoth watched his tactical display with growing terror. Where moments before he had been fighting a small group of human patrol ships, he was now facing an entire fleet that had appeared out of nowhere. His crystalline shell flickered with panic as he realized the terrible truth. The humans have been planning this, he said to his tactical officer. They knew we would come. They have been preparing for war, while we thought they were helpless. The Council's rigid battle formations, designed for fighting other Council species, fell apart under the human assault. Captain Helen Parker led a squadron of the new ships in an attack pattern that confused and scattered the alien forces. Her ships moved like a pack of wolves, working together to isolate and destroy Council vessels one by one. All units, remember. Your training, Helen called over the comm system. The aliens fight like they're following a rule book. We fight like we want to win. Commander Ruth Hayes piloted the experimental fighter U.E.'s Wasp, a small ship that carried technology the Council had never seen before. Her fighter was no bigger than a shuttle, but its revolutionary power core gave it more firepower than most. Alien destroyers. Ruth had volunteered to test the new technology, and now she was proving that human engineering could make even the smallest ship deadly. This is Wasp to all fighters, Ruth called out as she dove between 2 massive Council battleships. Their shields are strong against big weapons, but they can't adapt fast enough to stop small, fast targets. Ruth's tiny ship punched holes through alien hull plating that should have been impossible for a fighter to damage. The Council ships turned their massive guns toward her, but she was too small and too fast for their targeting systems to track. Dr. Nathan Brooks watched from his hidden research station as his improved weapons proved their worth in real combat. The energy guns he had designed were tearing through Council shields like they were made of tissue paper, while the new power cores allowed human ships to keep firing long after alien weapons would have overheated. "Admiral Collins, this is Dr. Brooks," Nathan reported with excitement in his voice. "Our weapons are performing better than expected. The aliens have no defense against our improved energy systems." The hidden asteroid bases throughout the belt began firing their main guns, massive rail weapons that could hit targets across the entire solar system. Council ships that thought they were safe suddenly found themselves under attack from weapons they couldn't even see. The aliens had never faced anything like these long-range cannons, and their ships began exploding before they could even figure out where the shots were coming from. General Alex Turner coordinated the ground-based orbital defense systems, massive guns hidden on Earth, and its colonies that could reach into deep space. The weapons had been built in secret over many years, disguised as mining equipment and research stations. "All orbital platforms, you are cleared to fire at will," Alex ordered. "Target the largest Council ships first. Let's show them what real firepower looks like." The space around Earth lit up with weapons fire as the hidden defense grid came online. Beams of energy and streams of metal projectiles reached out across millions of miles to strike Council ships with devastating accuracy. The aliens had never imagined that a planet could defend itself with such powerful weapons. Captain Tony Rodriguez led his ship in close combat against a Council cruiser, his improved shields deflecting alien weapons, while his new guns cut through the enemy's defenses. The Council ship tried to retreat, but Tony's engines were faster than anything the aliens had. "This is liberty," Tony called out as the alien cruiser exploded. "Their technology is impressive, but they never learn to innovate. They just keep using the same old designs over and over." Fleet Commander Zelmoth tried desperately to reorganize his fleet, but the humans were attacking from every direction at once. His ships were being destroyed faster than he could count them, and more human vessels kept appearing from hidden positions throughout the solar system. "All ships, retreat to jump position," Zelmoth ordered, his voice cracking with defeat. "We need to escape and warn the Council." But Admiral Collins had anticipated this move. Human ships that had been waiting in the outer system moved to block the Council's escape routes. The aliens found themselves trapped in a solar system that had become a deadly maze of human weapons and warships. "This is Admiral Collins to all Council vessels," Pete announced over an open channel. "You came here to destroy us. Now you'll learn what happens when you threaten humanity." The battle raged for 6 hours, but the outcome was never in doubt once the full extent of human preparations became clear. Council ships that had seemed invincible were reduced to floating wreckage, their crews either dead or begging for mercy. The few alien vessels that managed to escape carried news that would shake the galaxy. Captain Morrison watched a Council battleship surrender and felt a mixture of pride and sadness. Humanity had proven they could defend themselves, but the cost of war was always high, even when you won. "Amy, send a message to all human ships," Jake said. "Tell them that Earth is safe. The Council learned today that humans are not as helpless as they thought." High Counselor Vexthara, watching the battle from her command ship at the edge of the system, finally understood the magnitude of her mistake. The humans had not just defeated the Council fleet, they had crushed it so completely that the galaxy's balance of power had changed forever. The news of the Council's defeat spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. On 100 different worlds, alien species that had lived under Council rule for thousands of years suddenly heard something impossible. The mighty Galactic Council fleet had been destroyed by a young species that most of them had never even heard of. Captain Jake Morrison now commanded a much larger ship as he led the first human expedition into Council space. The U.S. Terra Nova was the biggest warship humanity had ever built, and it carried a crew of diplomats scientists, and soldiers. Jake's mission was not to conquer alien worlds, but to help them understand that the old order was finished. On the planet Kepler-7, a race of bird-like creatures, called the Avari, had been slaves to the Council for over 2,000 years. When they heard that humans had destroyed the Council fleet, their leader, Chief Kalath, could hardly believe it. She had spent her entire life dreaming of freedom, but had never thought it was possible. "Are you certain the Council ships are gone?" Khaled H. asked the human diplomat who stood before her. The human was a woman named Carol Watson, and she spoke the Avari language perfectly. "Completely destroyed," Carol confirmed. "The few ships that escaped carried news back to the Council homeworlds. They know they can no longer control the galaxy through fear." President Lisa Chong stood before the reformed Galactic Assembly on a neutral space station near the center of the galaxy. The station had been built quickly by a dozen different species working together, and it represented something new. Instead of the Council's pyramid of power with themselves at the top, this was a circle where every species had an equal voice. "The age of domination is over," Lisa said to the assembled aliens. "Humanity offers partnership, not conquest. We want to work together to build something better than what came before." One by one, species that had been oppressed by the Council stood up to join the new alliance. The Avari were first, followed by the stone-like granite people, then the energy beings from the vortex worlds. Each species brought their own knowledge and technology, creating a combination of science and culture that was stronger than anything the galaxy had seen. Admiral Pete Collins found himself in charge of building a new kind of military force. Instead of the Council's rigid hierarchy, the Terran Alliance military was based on cooperation and shared tactics. Human training methods were combined with alien technology to create something revolutionary. "The key is flexibility," Pete explained to a group of alien officers during a training session. "The Council failed because they always fought the same way. We win because we adapt to every situation." Commander Ruth Hayes now ran the Alliance Fighter Academy, where pilots from dozens of species learned to fly the new hybrid ships that combined human engineering with alien science. Her students included creatures that breathed water, others that lived in pure energy, and some that could survive in the vacuum of space without any protection. Speed and creativity beat size and tradition. Ruth told her mixed class of human and alien pilots. "The Council had bigger ships, but we had better ideas." Dr. Nathan Brooks led the new Interspecies Research Initiative, a project that brought together the best scientists from every Alliance world. The combination of human innovation with alien knowledge was producing discoveries that amazed everyone involved. They were building new types of engines, weapons, and medical devices that neither humans nor aliens could have created alone. When you combine human curiosity with Avari engineering and granite computational power, you get results that none of us could achieve separately, Nathan explained to a group of reporters from across the galaxy. The former Council members who survived the transition found themselves in a very different position. Species like the reptilian Vexthara's people, who had ruled for millennia, now had to learn how to be equals instead of masters. Some adapted better than others. High Counselor Vexthara herself had been captured during the battle and was now held on a prison station run by the Alliance. She spent her days writing reports about the old Council system, helping Alliance leaders understand how not to repeat the mistakes of the past. "I ruled through fear for 300 years, Vexthara told Captain Morrison during one of his visits to the prison. "Your people rule through hope. I am beginning to understand why you won." General Alex Turner oversaw the transformation of the old Council military bases into Alliance research stations and diplomatic centers. Weapons factories became schools, prison worlds became refugee centers, and fortress systems became meeting places where different species could learn about each other. The council built their empire to control. Alex observed to his staff, "We're building our alliance to liberate." The changes weren't always easy. Some species had been enemies for so long that they found it hard to work together. Others had been slaves for so many generations that they didn't know how to make their own decisions. But human diplomats and advisors helped them through the transition, sharing the lessons that Earth had learned during its own difficult history. Captain Tony Rodriguez commanded one of the new exploration fleets that were mapping parts of the galaxy the Council had kept secret. His mixed crew of humans and aliens was discovering new worlds and making contact with species that had hidden from the Council for centuries. "Every day we find another world that's ready to join the Alliance," Tony reported to Admiral Collins. "The galaxy is much bigger and more diverse than the Council ever admitted." The former Council strongholds became some of the most important centers of the new galaxy. Worlds that had been used only for military purposes were transformed into universities, hospitals, and cultural centers. The knowledge that had been hoarded by the Council elite was shared freely among all. Alliance members. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge of the Terra Nova as it patrolled the outer reaches of Alliance space, watching a joint human-alien crew work together with an efficiency that amazed him. The threats that had once seemed insurmountable had been overcome, and something beautiful was growing from the ashes of the old Empire. Near the edge of the galaxy, the remaining Council loyalists huddled on a few isolated worlds, their power broken and their authority scattered. They watched the Alliance grow stronger every day and knew that their time was truly over. The galaxy had moved beyond them, and there was no going back. The final message in Jake Morrison's log read simply, "Mission accomplished." The galaxy is free, and humanity has found its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as liberators and friends.